Welcome. Welcome to Safe Space. This is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D. Saying welcome. Pull up a chair. Come on in. Hit the like, share button. Tell a friend, tell a family. We've been having conversation around marriages and overcoming challenges and coming to our own and understanding who we are. And I hope this part two of this conversation is going to just stop you and let you do some introspective work and just look at yourself and see how you can now take up your shield of faith, take up your life and run in that strength. Today we have in studio two of my daughters, spiritual daughters, that we're going to continue the conversation with. They talked about, how they had children at a young age and how life was tough and how they had to survive. They had to learn survival skills. Anybody out there ever had to learn survival skill? Like nobody showed you, you just pick up habits as you went along in this life. Sometimes you have no teacher but time. Time is such a schoolmaster. Time is the greatest teacher. Time will tell you that you're running out of time. Time will tell you you don't have much time. And time will tell you how you've wasted time. And time will tell you how you've utilized time. Time is one of those things that is an equal opportunity employer. Everybody's given time, but how we use our time, how we redeem time, speaks on grace. So today, I want to go ahead, first daughter, and introduce yourself.
I am Nykky, and I'm glad to be here, mother of two, daughter of this house, and I'm glad to be at the table. It's safe. Glad to be here.
Amen. And daughter number two, go ahead.
My name is Lashone. I am the mother of two as well, and glad to be here.
Amen. Well, on the last conversation, ladies, just relax and this is safe space. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say, except for the Holy Spirit leads and beckons you. And remember, we're here to talk about our journey, and we're here to encourage. We're here to own some things. We're here to learn and grow and talk about our journey. And each of us have different journeys. And when we're talking about our journey, is one thing is to reflect on how far we've come. And I want to open up this discussion. And Nykky, when we last talked, you talked about that you were from South Carolina. You talked about how you just got up and came across the border to North Carolina, and how you were young and you thought you knew everything and you end up dancing and to survive and to make a living, and how you met your first husband while you were dancing. And talk to me. And then he said, no girlfriend of mine is going to be a dancer, right? So he took you home and you're shacking up. You're living with this man and you're thinking, oh my God, my ship has finally come home because I don't have to dance anymore. I don't have to be in that environment anymore. And here is this man that is promising me a silver platter with all kinds of stuff on it. But it cost you a lot. Talk to us about, so you're shacking up, you're an instant mother, you are taking care of his kids, and now you're thinking, okay, this is life. It must be life. This must be living, because I'm not dancing, I'm not doing these kind of stuff. I'm not having people looking at me, looking at my body, doing this, and I'm making a living. Here I'm in a secured space, but I'm an instant mother, and I'm young myself. And Now you got saved, but you're still shacking up. And you now tell the pastor says, I wouldn't do that. But no, you forged ahead and you decided, look, I'm gonna do this anyways. And then bro man got locked down to the big house. He got time out for a long time. We're not talking about 2 days of time. He got time out. And now you're pregnant. You're a single mother, be married. A lonely spouse, be married. Pick up your story and talk to us about the experience of being married, having hopes and dreams, and that being shattered. Go ahead.
Very, very scary time because I just had gotten married and coming into that marriage, I didn't think that I was going to lose my husband and become a single person. And what I would say married but single. It was scary. It was trying. It was challenging, and I had to forge ahead and not know what that looks like. All I remember and know is survival, and dealing with what that looked like, in that at that time. But for me, it was nothing easy, and I would say that the support that I had at the church helped me through that, because he wasn't there anymore, and I had to pick up the pieces. I had to support him. The tables were turned. I had to take care of his children. Eventually, gave them back to their mom because then it became too much for me to take care of him, work, and do all these different things that I was not prepared for because I thought that I had hit the lottery, and that wasn't the case when I got into that relationship. And still in survival mode. And so while he was given 20 plus years, he ended up serving 3.5 years. And when he came home, I instantly got pregnant then with our child. And still at that ministry, we started attending the same ministry, and he eventually left that ministry and started going to a different church. And that's when a lot of things kind of took a turn, but I couldn't follow because I didn't feel like I needed to follow him to a different ministry. That has held me up for all these years. I was faithful to the ministry. But it was a very scary place. The children was back with their moms, and I found out about the infidelity. By this time, the ministry where I was at the other church ended, and I joined CI Can, and
So wait a minute. So you took him back, your husband, he came home.
Mhm.
He came home, and when he came home, you were under a church family and you were feeling loved and accepted. And did they know he was away?
yes,
Okay, so they knew he was away, but nobody ostracized you or made you feel bad, or you weren't aware of that?
no, I wasn't aware of it. I was so new in my faith, and oblivious, learning the church talk, learning whatever, just learning how to live. I was so grateful that I was no longer shacking up, to get that burden off.
Because you was married.
I was married. I had
You're
license to
simply
drive.
married.
Exactly.
You were.
I had license to drive, so that was a big burden because, I knew that it was wrong, but I didn't know how wrong it was until I came into the knowledge of faith. But
So you would rather a bad marriage, a wrong marriage, than to be single? Because sometimes that's the misconception that even a bad marriage is a good marriage,
Yeah.
as long as you're not single, right?
Mhm.
And we're told that lie,
Mhm.
and you accept that. So you're taking all the abuse, because abuse doesn't have to look like physical, like, throwing punches.
Mhm.
It could be verbal, it could be neglect. So here he is, and in the last episode, you talked about that you found out that he was rolling with one of your friends that was dancing.
Mhm.
So he went back to the place where he found you.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. So he never stopped visiting. He just brought somebody home who he could have, but he kept playing
Mhm.
over there. you don't come over there so I can play. And so now you confronted him and he admitted it.
Yes.
And you were like, what?
It was rough because he admitted it. He denied it initially when we were over the phone, but when we got face to face in our bedroom, he admitted it. But at that same time, he renounced his faith. And when he renounced his faith, I saw a soul, because I was far along in my faith. At that point, I was like, okay, I know you're my husband, but God didn't do it. You're mad at me, but that's where I was. And in that moment,
So you tried to save him
I
again?
was trying to save him again. And
Yeah.
at that,
You wanted to be savior?
yes,
Okay.
I didn't even know that at the time,
Yeah.
but I was still taking care of everybody else outside of me, as I had learned to do for so long. But when he renounced his faith, I saw our soul, and at that moment, I felt like I needed to
Fix it.
fix him. And so I felt like I dropped to my knees and I said, listen, God didn't do it. I forgive you. I forgive you. I'm not mad with you. And I didn't understand what that looked like or what that meant, but I'm glad I said it in hindsight, because it helped me. It started my forgiveness for real, for real. I didn't, that was a process.
So yes. So when you were falling on your knees, you were trying to save your marriage, or you thought you were saving him, or you were trying to do both?
Both.
So you were willing to take him even though you found that he was cheating,
Yes.
and you were willing to let it rest.
Yes.
Girl, you something else.
Yes.
Are you better than me?
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah, we're gonna pause. We're gonna come to daughter number 2, because no, that's good. So you trying to be savior, and you're trying to you're just gonna let it drop.
Yes.
Yeah, you're a good girl. You're gonna let it drop, take him back,
Yes.
and just act like it never happened, and because you want to save him.
Yes.
All right, and okay, how's that working for you? It didn't work, did it?
Oh, no. I'm so glad I know who I am today.
And so, Lashone, we talked about your story, and for our audience, we're talking to 2 daughters who are at the table, and telling you the different dynamics in relationships, and how they came to faith, and how they overcame, and how they're overcoming. And so talk to us. You got pregnant in high school, your father passed, and he didn't disown you. He even wanted to give your daughter his name so that he could protect you even from the grave. But you didn't understand that. And then you decided, wait a minute, I can't die here. And you came to Charlotte from Lincolnton,
Yes.
Georgia.
Yes.
And from the sticks.
Yes. The bushes.
The bushes, right, from the sticks. Hey, Georgia. She said it, I didn't, don't come after me. And so you came to Charlotte, and you stayed with your sister how long?
I stayed with my sister between 2 to about 3 or 4 weeks, not long.
And then you stayed with her because you had a plan.
Yes.
You knew that you had to work, your baby stayed back with your mom.
Yes.
And now you're in a new city, you're working, you find a new apartment, you're hustling, not hustling,
Yes.
but hustling.
Yes.
You're working, you're doing everything that you know how to do. Talk to me about the emotional damage of that you got pregnant, you were in high school, you were able to finish high school, but you were ostracized, the mothers didn't want their daughters to catch what you got.
Yes.
Even though they were doing just as much as you were, they just didn't end up pregnant,
That's right.
right? You know how that works, right? Don't bring no babies home, right? But you were brave enough to bring that baby home at 16, and mom is taking care of baby, you're working. Talk to me about emotionally how that made you feel, because you thought you were in love,
Yes.
or were you?
No. I'm not going to say I was in love because I was young.
Yes.
No, I was not in love, just trying to figure some things out. But when I moved to Charlotte, it was scary. I left all my friends, my family, to come to a new place. I knew that I wanted a better life for Rihanna, but I didn't know what that looked like either. So I was still learning when I got here. I did eventually get my own place. I moved into my own place. My mom still wanted to make sure that I was settled before she allowed Rihanna to come.
How did that feel with that? You know, you're working and your baby's not here, you're young, you're a new mother. Was there any separation anxiety, depression, anything happen while you were away from your baby? Because remember, you didn't, you just had the baby, you came forging for a new life. How were you mentally?
It was kind of tough, but I knew that at the time it was best because I never wanted to bring her here and not be established myself. I could not encroach on my sister because she had her own family. They were already gracefully enough to allow me to live there, so I couldn't bring her. My mom wouldn't allow me anyway. So it was tough, but I knew that I had a plan. I knew that I had to work hard so I can get her up here, so my mom wouldn't be stuck feeling like she couldn't live her life. My mom was a new widow at the time. So my mom had her own things that I know she was dealing with, but my mom never shared. She was just always so supportive to make sure that her grandchildren were okay. So those things were in the back of my mind too. So I got here and I worked. Ended up getting a second job as well, because I ended up getting support from my sister and my brother-in-law to help me along the way. Then my mom decided to transition to Charlotte as well to help us raise our children.
Okay, so here you are in the middle of grief. Your mom is in grief because she's just lost
Yes.
her husband.
Yes.
That's all she knows.
Yes.
She lost her husband. You, in the last year of your father's life, you came up pregnant.
Yes.
Dad wanted to not let you be ostracized off her, even though he was dying, he didn't tell you guys. And he died so quickly.
Yes.
And so mom didn't grieve, you didn't grieve, and you had the baby. So you picked up where you left off, and at no point was grief a part of your process in terms of grieving your daddy's death and no father with your child, right? And you're
Yes.
young, you're coming into a new city. Your sister is gracious, your brother-in-law is gracious. You didn't stay long. But talk to me about your mental health. Or did you even consider that? Or were you too busy to even think that there was anything going on mentally or emotionally that you needed to stop and deal with?
To be honest, I never took the time to deal with me. Because I was so busy working, I never even thought about myself a lot of times. And I didn't know what that looked like to deal with my own mental issues or my own grief until as I got older and some of those things were pulled out of me that I never dealt with when I came to see I Can. So I have to be honest that I never took the time to deal with some things that I brought from Georgia to the same city. So things followed me and they are generational. And now I can see some of those things on some of those traits in my children.
Okay, so, and then Nykky, you did not, you left home at a young age. How old were you when you left home?
I just graduated high school, so I was 18.
Okay, so you were 18 and you came here with hopes and dreams that you already have it figured out. I don't want this, that's down here in South Carolina, but you didn't know what that looked like. So you ending up doing that, whatever that was, and dancing to survive. And then here comes this man also. Did you at any time, and any one of you can answer, think that you were traumatized?
Not at all. Didn't know. As Lashone would say, I never took time to deal with me. I was so busy, focused on everything around me, and not dealt and didn't deal with me. Not until I got to see I Can, where I had to sit down and air out, and I had to face me.
Isn't that something that here we are seemingly successful, seemingly like we have it all together, seemingly life is going, we are in relationships that is not good for us, right? But nobody told us that. Take a minute, pause, and these behavior, these outbursts, these hiding behavior mannerisms are trauma.
Yep.
And nobody told you that you're traumatized. So you're moving from one relationship to another relationship, looking to take care of people,
Yes.
because that's what you think you're good for. And so talk to me at any time. So here you are, Lashone, your father who you love so much, and you were the apple of his eyes, yet nobody told you to stop and grieve.
No. No.
Nobody told you that it's okay to hurt.
No.
Nobody told you that that was painful.
No.
So you were just functioning, looking to be loved.
That's it. Looking to survive.
Yeah.
Just wanted to survive
Mhm.
and wanted to make sure if I could protect Brianna from going through some of the same stuff.
But how were you gonna do that when you didn't have the tools to use?
I think my biggest thing was to make sure I did not want Rihanna to have an early childhood pregnancy.
Okay,
That was big for me.
so you were parenting in fear,
Yes,
okay? And you were asking, Nykky, you were asking your former husband to stay out of fear of being alone,
Fear of being alone.
because you had hit the jackpot.
Yes.
You're a married woman.
Yes.
I was married now,
Yes.
and so I'm an upstanding woman.
Yes.
No matter how corrupt it is behind the scenes. There is so much stuff behind the scenes that we put our makeup on, we put our best feet forward, and we smiling through the pain,
yes,
and we never take a moment to say, I'm hurting.
yes.
When did you, Lashone, identify? No, so you had your daughter, mommy's here supporting, you have 2 jobs, and then what? You found a different relationship? How did you move now from, okay, I have a child, to another relationship? How did you navigate that?
Well, my mom didn't move up here right away, so it was me and my daughter for probably a couple of years. So like I said, I had support from my sister, and my brother-in-law would get her off the bus, and I would work or whatever. And then I did date a couple guys. Dated a guy that was in the neighborhood where I lived, as well as, just still trying to figure life out.
Mhm.
So I did date, just trying to find love. Also dealing with rejection from past stuff in Georgia. So it was tough. It was tough trying to raise a daughter, also wanting to live the young life, because I was still young. I mean, I was 16 when I had her, so you already know that we grew up together. So we were basically growing up trying to figure this thing called life out together. I wanted to have a good time, but I also wanted to be a mom.
Okay, so you're having a good time, dating here and there, nothing is working,
No.
you're surviving, you're in pain, and you're in a whirlwind, but you don't know you're in a whirlwind.
No,
Because you just want to have fun,
I just want to have
but you
fun,
want to be a mommy,
but I want to be a mom.
but you're traumatized,
Yes,
and you haven't grieved your father's death,
yes,
and you haven't grieved that you have a baby and you don't have the father beside you.
yes,
You're just on automatic.
yes,
And you, Nykky, just, the man has cheated. He went back to the same stomping ground, went to jail, right? At 20 years looking at, did 3.5. He came out, you got pregnant right away, and he cheated. And you renounce his faith, and you're begging him to stay
Yes.
because that's life for you.
That was life for me.
And you didn't think that was trauma.
I didn't think it was trauma. I was thinking, oh, I was the first married woman in my family. I was thinking about.
Oh, so you were the first married woman and you don't want to break that record. So you are going to put up a front,
I didn't know that I was, but yes.
a false front.
Yes.
I'm going to let him abuse me verbally
Yes.
with his absence. It's lack of support. It's disrespect. Because I'm the first one in my family to be married. And I'm the upstanding citizen because everybody is shacking up. And I'm Mrs.,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
But you're dying on the inside.
On the inside.
Talk to me about that.
You know, with the stigma in the back of my mind, and still trying to figure out life, and didn't realize that that I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my worth like I know today. So I put up with so much stuff, and it was scary and rough. And you would say, you know, you do the best you can with what you got, you know, and what you know, which is nothing or not a lot. But you're in survival mode, and you don't know that you're dealing with trauma. You don't know that you don't have the tools, and you think you have the tools. You don't know these things, and but it was scary, and it was hard. It was really hard now I think about it. And I took on a lot, and I just thought it was okay to feel the, you know, pain. Like pain was nothing for me because I've seen so much. And I thought too, even when I go back and I think about, you know, where I'm from, is I was the first in the family for a lot of things when I think about where I am today. And I was running from that. I didn't want to go through the things, warehouse opportunities, and just different things, just not knowing who I was.
So you're running from the existence of what you have seen lived out around you. You don't know what you're looking for, and you ran smack dab into yourself.
Yeah.
And now you're in a different state.
Yeah.
Living the same lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah.
Abuse.
Yeah.
Neglect.
Yeah.
Pain. Shame. But they're over here. At least they're being truth to who they are.
Yes.
But you're living a lie because you're suffering in silence.
Yes.
And then you, Lashone, on the other hand, you're looking for love,
Yes.
but you don't know what it looks like.
No.
Other than what you'd seen your father gave to you.
Yes.
So here you are, you're looking for that love that you had seen how your father loved your mom.
Yes.
So you're looking for that.
Yes.
And you have a baby, but you didn't find that.
No.
And you came to Charlotte and you didn't find that.
No.
And you're looking.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you're navigating, you're working, you got 2 jobs, you got your baby growing up now, mom is the support system, you haven't grieved, and you're in relationships. Tell me how did you navigate that?
Well, I didn't really navigate it, I would say, now that I look back over my life, because I attached myself to the same things, the same guys that I had in Georgia. So I went through a roller coaster. And then my mom decided to transition to Charlotte to help me out. So that gave me a little bit more freedom to be out more. And then I met who is now my husband, which was different for me because I experienced love, I thought at first, because we were young too, that I've never had before. So I rushed into a relationship. And it was good for the first few years. And then I got pregnant again with my son that I have now. So we made we broke up for a while.
You broke up when you got pregnant, when you found you were pregnant?
Yes.
So when you found out you were pregnant and you're dating this one person, then you broke up while you're pregnant?
Yes, we broke up when I got pregnant with my son. It was tough. So I went through life. I felt like a failure because I said, here I am again with another child, not with a father. And I'm a single parent of 2 instead of 1. I'm already working 2 jobs. I've already transitioned, got support from my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, and now bringing in another child.
How did that make you feel? Like you think you're experiencing love and now you're abandoned with a second child. How did that make you feel emotionally?
It made me feel horrible because it goes back to Georgia rejection, you know. And so it was tough. It was very tough because, again, I felt like I did not want to have another child out of wedlock. And I did not want my child not to have their father. So that was tough for me.
And so here you are pregnant, and did you work throughout your pregnancy because you had no support? Here you are, you got to take care of now your daughter, now you have a son, and you're working throughout the pregnancy?
Yes, I worked the whole time throughout my pregnancy until I had my son. Now, when I had my son, my husband, who is my husband now, he jumped into fatherhood. He was there when I had my son, and he's never left my side when it came down to my son. So we were separated, but he still was a father. I will honestly, he was a great father.
Okay, so he now, you are separated, but so he came around, and how did that make you feel? Did you feel like, okay, now he's accepted me, or is he just coming around for his son? Or, talk to me through that, because in talking, we help people, because here you are, hopes and dreams, he left you, you're pregnant, you're navigating it, now you have the child, he's back.
Yes.
And you just picked up from where you left off with him?
No, we weren't dating. He just was a father to Cameron. We weren't dating. How we ended up back together, I still can't figure. To be honest with you, I don't know. I'm just being honest. It just happened one day.
Just happened.
It literally did, because we were not dating, and then all of a sudden we went out one day, and then we just ended up back together. I cannot tell you how we ended up together again, but we were separated for 2 years. About 2 years after I had my son. He did his thing and I did my thing.
And you took him back?
I took him back.
You didn't miss a beat?
No, we didn't miss a beat. You would think we never was apart. It's the truth. We never missed a beat. Nobody.
And you were doing your own thing, he was doing his own thing. You came back together and picked up the pieces.
Yes, because we never stopped being friends, though. We didn't. We never stopped being friends. We just didn't date. After I got over the hurt and the separation.
How did you do that? How did you get over that? With somebody else or pressing through? How did you get
somebody else, as well as my mom?
Okay.
My mom transitioning here helped me heal when it came down to.
Were you healed?
I wasn't healed. Let's just say I dealt with it.
Okay, you dealt with it.
Yes.
You pushed it back.
I just pushed it back and was like, okay, well, I got 2 kids. Let me just do what I got to do. And I just took care of my children because they're important to me.
Okay, so you took care of your babies, and here he comes, and you're back together.
We're just back together.
And now you're shacking up.
Now we just shacking up.
Oh my goodness. So you don't want another baby, but he left, you're shacking up with 2 kids. Here you are, married, but he's cheating, he's doing whatever. He had a baby.
Not with the other person.
He's cheating with this girl from the club,
Yes.
right? Another dancer,
Yes.
right? You're begging him to stay because now you're a Christian
Yes.
and you need to put up a good front.
That was the right thing to do.
Right thing to do, but it's not working.
Wasn't working.
And
I was hurting,
you're broken.
broken.
And you're back in a relationship and you have not dealt with your emotion because now you got a man.
Yep, I got the man and we never dealt with the issue.
You got a man, you got a kid for the man, and life is good.
Life is good.
So we thinks.
And these are the things that we deal with in our community and even the church. We come and you are a married woman, he's cheating, you're willing to overlook it, all that cheating. He went to prison. You want to overlook that because the status is important to you, because at least that generational stuff is not following you, because you are upstanding and you now want to be loved, Lashone, and you just accepted the man and you're like, we shacking up. We don't know how we got back here. We got back here. We had history. We're shacking up. We picked up the pieces. We never talked about it. And you moved on.
We just moved up. Well, we really did move on. because that stuff was still in me and it was still in him. So we just covered it up.
You covered your pain by being together.
By being together.
My God, that is profound. Being together, but not existing in your own world, but not, would you say you were happy?
I think I would say the word of getting along.
You were getting along, because at least you weren't together, you weren't
Yes.
apart.
We wasn't apart, and my children were able to have a father figure in their lives.
And at that time, that was enough for you.
That was enough for me.
Wow. Man, this is amazing how when people see us and they don't know our stories until we start telling our story. So tell me, how did you end up being divorced?
As I tend, see, I can.
Oh, so you came to us,
I came to you, and
and you came to us,
And that's right.
I came to you.
shacking up.
Shacking up, and I got married within the first, I think, 6 months.
Okay. So you came shacking up with your fine hairstyle, looking good, standing with matchy. You're your man, matchy, sitting behind me, matchy. And you came there telling me, oh, I can sing. Broken, and like, I can do this and I can do that. And I came from ministry and I'm like, excuse me? I need you to sit down. And how did that make you feel when you came over and you're telling me of all the fantastic things? And I looked in your eyes and see a broken girl. And I said, dry out.
Yeah. I was thinking, okay, but I can do these things. And I said, okay, and I sat down and didn't understand, the reasons and the whys. And you said, gird up the loins of your mind, and I didn't understand it, but I knew that I was in a new place. And I've never been shy to new things, especially things that could make me better, and didn't know. I was just taking a chance, coming out of where I was. And we were separated. I've been separated for at least 2 years when I came to See I Can, and didn't know whether I wanted to follow through with the divorce or not, but I was open to it. But I didn't feel like I didn't want to displease the Lord either, because I know that He hates divorce. So
you would think that the Lord, here you are, infidelity, lonely in marriage, and all the other corrupt things that comes with it, and you think that you would be displeasing to the Lord?
I was religious. I learned a lot of religious behaviors and things initially, and not set to talk, wasn't taught to sit down and air out and locate yourself, and the things that we get today and See I Can. I thank God for it. But there's a lot of things that I learned and picked up along the way. And I was still self-existing, just moving and surviving, and didn't know that I was in survival mode, didn't know that I was full of trauma, didn't know that I was full of rejection and all the pain and all the things that come with that stuff, until I sat down. And when you said sat down, I said, okay, but I can still do these things, but I sat down.
You were made to sit down,
I was
because you
made-
couldn't
yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
And then when it's so funny that when you're pinpointed and you're highlighted and confronted with behaviors, because when we're traumatized in relationships, we tend to be defensive. We tend to be protective. We tend to cover for others. That's a part of the fruit of trauma, because I don't want to be left alone. I'll take love at any cost, even if it's a little bit, even if pain is a part of it. And we've been told that pain is a part of love when people are behaving in a corrupt manner. Pain is a part of life. Pain is a part of life, but the corrupt relationships we are told that we should settle and take it. So then, Lashone, you came to church,
Yes. I was invited by John Pierre.
Jean-Pierre, to church.
Yes.
And he was sitting behind me in his family, and then you were sitting behind them.
Yes.
And you came to church.
Yes.
And the bishop said he's gonna have a mass wedding for all the shaka rappers.
Sure did. Sure did.
We gonna have a marriage for all the shaka rappers, and we gonna pay for it, so we can take the excuses out of this. And so we had a mass wedding,
Yes, we did.
and you now were a part of this mass wedding that you're gonna get a free wedding. All you had to do is pay for your license and everything, and you guys went through it.
We didn't even pay for our license.
Yeah, no, you didn't pay for your license, and you showed up. And so you have always wanted to be married
Yes, I did.
and have your children to have a father and to be protected.
Yes.
And on the day of the wedding, you said what?
On the day of the wedding, we were in Bishop's office, and they said, Bishop was like, he was giving us a speech or whatever. He said, "Till death do us part." I said, "To death? I gotta die to leave?" I said, "Oh, this serious." I said, "That's all right. I changed my mind." I don't want to get married. And Bishop's exact words were, "You gonna do something, you to stress me out to be married. You're getting married today." So I got married in the office. He married me immediately.
So you got married with two witnesses.
I got married with two witnesses and my husband. Because even my husband was like, "You don't want to get married." I was the one that said I didn't want to get married. Now I want to get married. You don't want to get married. I said, "I changed my mind. I made a mistake."
And so when I came in the office, you were married.
I was already married when you came to the office.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So now you're a married woman,
Yes.
but you haven't dealt with your trauma.
We never dealt with the trauma.
So now you have a name,
Yes.
right? And then now you're on the verge of divorce. You don't know what you want to do, but you're playing the church game,
Yes.
the coy game.
Yes.
I have it all together. And then you were sat down
Yes,
to deal with your trauma,
Yes.
not to sit down to punish you,
yes.
but sit down to deal with your trauma.
Yes.
And you were still going through your motion,
Yes.
because now you're married.
Now I'm married.
You're now Mrs.
I don't miss this.
And you, when the day came, didn't want to get married
No.
because of trauma.
Because of trauma and because I just couldn't leave. When it was just something about that till death do us part. I can't just up and leave.
But you were ready to shack up all the days of your life.
But I can leave.
So you had an out. And so we're not talking about love here. Nobody is talking about romance. Nobody's talking about being pursued. Nobody's talking about vision. Nobody's talking about growing together. It's just what we've learned in our community, that you just get a man, if you have a baby, you get together and whatever he does is right. And we just forgive and forget. We take the pain, we cry, we go to bed and start over again tomorrow. And we take the pain and the thing, because nobody in the relationship is dealing with their trauma and their drama. But you think it's love because it presents itself to be love. And then once we're now doing boundaries.
Yes.
We're now being confronted to tell you that you're traumatized and that you've been traumatized from you were young, and nobody has ever dealt with their misery and their pain. And you thought pain was a part of marriage.
Yes.
You thought cheating was a part of marriage, and being talked to like a dog is a part of marriage, as long as you got a man. Because that's the mantra. That's what you're told. As long as you have a man, just behave yourself and in public act like a good girl. But don't shame nobody. Don't disclose that you're arguing. Don't disclose that you're fighting. Don't disclose that you're fussing. Don't discuss that you're even fisticuffs. Don't discuss that you're doing that. Why? Because on the outside, you're married. And talk to me, Nykky, when you decided you've had enough.
Sitting in service one Sunday, Bishop was preaching the word of God, and I was sitting in the pew right in the middle. And he stopped the service, came walking down towards the aisle, towards me, and he said, "Stop playing house." And I knew at that moment that it was time for me to divorce my ex. And so, at this time, I was learning about boundaries. I was learning about who I was in this time of sitting down, as you had instructed me to sit down. And I started doing some sessions and counseling sessions and things with you. And this is when I began to identify who I was and discover some of the challenges and things, and just deal with me, the rejection and the pain and just all the stuff, because it was a lot of stuff that I had to unfold and deal with and face. And wasn't ready to sing to nobody. I don't know who let me sing earlier on, but I'm glad today. But when the bishop told me to stop playing house, I immediately did what I needed to do on those fronts. And a few years later, met my husband to be.
No, before you know, you're fast forwarding this,
Yeah.
and then you got divorced.
Yes.
And I said, sit down.
Yeah.
And then after you got divorced, you start standing up again.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then I said, don't go to the beach.
Yes.
And you went to the beach
Yes.
and lost your job
Yes.
because now you are free.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
came back broken again
Yes.
because now you don't have a job.
Mhm.
You were exploring and trying to live outside of the boundaries,
Mhm.
foul on the plate. You came back broken because now you have no job.
Yeah.
And you're back to square one.
Yeah.
And you thought that you had dealt with you.
Yes.
And the little girl was sabotaging you
Yes.
in your decisions.
Yes.
And the little girl was sabotaging you in your decisions.
Yes.
Because here you are, know nothing about marriage. You're now married after you've been shacking up.
Yes.
Now remember, your mom came to me and says what? You can take her
Yes.
because she's shacking up and I don't allow shacking up.
No, she does not.
So maybe she can listen to you and I'm turning her over to you
Yes.
because she's living in sin.
Oh, yes. My mom has never, ever, ever condoned shacking.
And so she said, you're living in sin. And I said, are you sure you want to turn her over to me? She said, do whatever you want to do with her. And I said, are you sure? I said, aren't you going to get jealous or envious when you see her? She said, no, First Lady, I don't care. She's a shacker-upper. And so we began to work behind the scenes. You got married, and I also remembered, talk to me about the rejection of being married and not being able to tell that you were married. Talk to us about that, helping people, because again, this is a part about rejection.
When I first got married, my husband is very private. And so
What do you mean private that you're married?
I know.
How can marriage be private?
He was private and he wanted to be the one to tell his parents. So for a while.
How long a while?
It was a long time.
I mean, wait.
It was a long time before he told his parents.
Wait a minute. So he private, you're married, his parents don't know, but he wants to wait a while to tell.
Yes. He wanted to tell his parents that he was married. And I just went along with it.
You went along with it. Why?
I just didn't want confrontation, and I felt like those were his parents, and that's something that he needs to deal with. And I just didn't want to deal with it.
So wouldn't you say that's
Because I didn't want to be rejected.
So you didn't want to be rejected, so you just played along. His mother doesn't know you're married. Everybody else knows
Yes.
because it's a public wedding.
Yes.
They don't know.
They didn't know.
They don't know. And you went along with it. Another piece of the trauma and the stuff. So I took it on myself
Yes, you did.
and introduced you
Yes, you did.
to his parents
Yes, you did.
as the second missus.
Yep. God.
And I told her, I greeted them and told them that, called them and I said, by the way, there is another person with your last name too, and she's sitting right here.
Yes.
And so meet your new son's bride. I ain't seen her since.
Funny God.
I've seen her in the community, but not at church. And the shock was pulsating, and to me it was sad in a way of what you were trying to run away from was right in your face. Right in your face, and to see that and had to walk you through that
Yes.
and introduce you, reintroduce you
Yes.
to you. How did that feel when we were all standing at the step and you were finally free to be introduced?
At first, I was like, oh, this cannot be happening right now, because I was trying to look at my husband's face to see how his reaction was. And also like, please don't say anything that will hurt me. Because again, I didn't want something negative to come out, so I had to face another rejection. So it was scary. But after you said it, then my husband started saying it.
Yes,
So he was forced to deal with something as well.
yes.
So it was scary.
I said, aren't you gonna introduce your new wife
Yes.
to your parents? And he looked at all dumbfounded. And I said, go ahead and introduce your new wife.
Yes.
This is not your girlfriend.
No.
And I said, let me help you do that. And I could see your eyes and your face and the relief
Yes. It was a release.
of hiding
Yes.
that which was prized.
Yes.
And you had to live through that. And so now they know you're married, and now you were living together, so you didn't have to move in. How being married after living together, how did that begin?
Well, at first, it seemed like the first week, and I make a joke about it because it's like my husband was like, oh yeah, she's my wife now. Basically, I can tell you what to do. So he was driving me around and dropping me off. And I'm like, wait a minute. And at first it was cool because I was like, okay, is this what marriage about? And then one week I was like, I don't need you to drive me around. I have my own license.
Your rejection was showing.
Yes, I was like, I have my license. I don't need you to drive me around.
Your rejection was showing.
It was, but it was overwhelming when we lived together. It was different, because it felt like I still had control. But
How so?
I could say get out or I could leave. But when I got married, it's like, okay, this thing is for real. Like this is like I'm married. Like I'm somebody's wife. I can't just go. So it was different. So I felt crowded at first. Like I had I can't really explain it. It was just overwhelming.
It was overwhelming for you that you're married now, even though you were shacking up, you didn't have those same feelings.
No, I didn't have the same feelings because it was so different. It's like he was different. It's like when I took on his like you have my last name now, like I'm the boss. And
So you were afraid of him being the head.
Yes.
You wanted to be in charge.
I wanted
You
to
just
be in
wanted a
charge.
man to sleep with.
Yes, but I wanted to be in charge. I want to control everything because I felt like if I didn't control something, then I was unhappy. I need to be able to tell what to do, what not to do.
So your fear, and you got into the leader role because you were afraid of rejection.
Yes.
So you controlled all the things. While being unhappy, you were in control
Yes.
so that you would control your feelings.
Yes.
So if he says, I don't want you, like, I already knew that.
Yes.
So when he started driving you around, the fear showed up in you,
Yes.
like a bile. It showed up
Yes.
in you. And you're like, wait a minute. I want a boyfriend. I don't want a husband.
Yes.
Because you were okay with a boyfriend.
Yes.
but a husband was too much.
Yes. When we first got married, it was too much because it was, he changed into his role, I will honestly say. But I didn't change it to my role because I still wanted to have control. I think because if something didn't work out, I can already know that, okay, I was in control of it. I can just let it go and it wouldn't be as hard to deal with if he had the control and decided he didn't want me.
So the lie you were living and telling yourself is that you're in control,
Yes,
but your emotion was tied into him.
yes,
So it wasn't as easy as what you were saying, but you sold yourself a lie, told yourself a lie. You wouldn't relinquish being in charge, in control, because in keeping control, he would leave.
yes. That's what, well, it wasn't that he wouldn't leave, it's that if he did decide to leave, it wouldn't hurt as bad.
And then you now, Nykky, you are now jobless, right? Because you're discovering yourself, and in discovering yourself, some mistakes were made and decisions were made that wasn't profitable, because now you're still looking for love. You're looking for love, but you don't want to allow yourself to be loved because you're afraid. And you're afraid, so you went ahead and you are doing whatever you want to do until you lost your job, and you now are married, but you're controlling the relationship because in case he wants to leave, I'm in control.
Yes.
That's what you think. And so we live in this world, and now you both are believers coming to church, but what you are living is the lie you've been sold.
Yes, yes,
Not knowing who we are,
yes,
not discovering who we are. And because the pain have to be confronted,
yes,
our past have to be confronted,
yes,
and we have to deal with ourselves to find out where's that dysfunction
yes,
and what is triggering my response. Because what happened is we invite the same behaviors
yes,
to come into our life. We call those squatters.
yes,
They might be husbands or wives or whatever they are. Because we haven't done our work,
yes,
we attract who we are.
yes.
So now we've attract the things we don't want. The
Yes.
things that we fear the most have come upon us.
Yes,
But we're Christians, we love the Lord. We know that we're saved, we know we're not going to hell. But our relationship is dysfunction, is broken while we're looking for love. My goodness, we have to pull up. And I know this has been a riveting story about two women that have overcome challenges. They're overcoming as we speak. They are married, have children. God has raised them up. They have been doing their work. And so I want you to know that there is still hope. As long as there's life, there is still hope. But until you deal with you, everything and everyone will deal with you. And until you own you and look in the mirror and identify your broken story, your story will never be recovered. Not by a husband or not by a church. It comes when you get in the right relationship with yourself, with your God, that you can get in relationship with others. Until the next time, this is your prophetic purpose pusher, Pastor D, saying, as long as there's life, there's hope. Run on to see what the end is going to be. It gets better.